Hi, this is Fraser Hines, and this is the Sirens of Audio.
Why subscribe to the Sirens of Audio? Because the whole playlist is perfectly stacked with the most exquisite interviews and audio chat that every episode is balanced out within itself. Which is why we can sit next to hundreds of super compressed audio and not even be aware of it. With each new episode we publish, the playlists are realigned, but the podcast remains stable. Then it's the most brilliant piece of niche fandom content I've ever seen. The concept is simply staggering. Pointless, but staggering. I'm gratified you appreciate it. Appreciate it? Appreciate it? What, you devote masses of time away from your family with editing on a scale that's almost inconceivable, and you ask me to appreciate it? Just because you happen to have made a brilliantly conceived podcast out of an audio drama toy! Devil storms me too. It is not a toy! Well, then what's it for? Huh? What are you doing? What could possibly be worth all this? By the raging fury of the Sky Demon, you ask too many questions. You have subscribed, you have admired, be satisfied and ask no more! G'day audiophiles, this is the Sirens of Audio, the show that explores the universe of Doctor Who in the audio medium. My name's Dwayne.
And my name is Philip. G'day Dwayne, g'day audiophiles.
Oh, g'day Philip, how's things with you?
Yeah, things are fantastic. The weather's turning beautiful and life is good.
Well, it always is, and you were sorely missed the other day on the last episode. You couldn't make it, and I know how much you hate missing everything. You like to be there for everything.
I was sorely missed that I missed it.
And joining us for this,
I did enjoy the listen though. It was great to hear. There was a great little interview you did, and I learned lots of things about Malcolm Hulk, which was great. So thank you for that.
No worries at all. Today's going to be a good episode because we're going to be talking about two of the lost stories that have recently been released. We're going to be talking about Operation Werewolf and Deathworld. Very two Doctors centric this episode, with one or two other Doctors thrown in for good measure. But to join us to do that is our good friend from Melbourne once again, Chris.
Hey, how you going?
Hey, Chris,
yeah, good.
welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Good to see you again. We didn't scare you off with well, Stephen didn't scare you off anyway with our commentary episode. That's a good thing.
No, not at all. No, yeah, he was great. I enjoyed listening to him.
Excellent. So you've had a listen to the two stories that we're about to talk about?
I have, yes. I finished Deathworld today, actually, about 3 hours ago.
Fresh in the mind.
So it should be fresh for all of us. I
Fresh
finished
on
it
my
yesterday.
mind, yeah, it is.
Excellent. A couple of things to do before we get to our discussion on those two stories. Philip, could you just give us a rundown on where we're at with our live events at the moment, please?
I can indeed. I do know that for most of you, this isn't particularly relevant because most of our audience is elsewhere in the world. But for those of you in Australia, and let's grow that Australian audience, we have Fraser Hines. It's only 2 weeks away until Fraser will be in Sydney. And so we've got Fraser in Sydney on the 8th. And then the week after that, we've got Fraser in Melbourne. We've got Saturday night dinner first, and then he'll be in Melbourne, and it's going to be amazing. And then the week after that, we'll have Fraser and Katie in Brisbane. And so, yeah, first time in Australia, these two have appeared on stage together. It is going to be an amazing double act. And then, if all goes well, the week after that, we've got Katie in Adelaide. But there may be an announcement to happen with that. We're waiting to see whether a few more tickets are able to sell. Come on, guys, you've been calling out for guests to come, and something's been organised. So show that you actually want them by the tickets. But anyhow,
we can do our best to organise. We can do our best to organise these things, but you've got to support it and come along. Otherwise, it's just not possible.
No.
Very good.
And also, can I say, picking and choosing doesn't really help either because we actually need to build an audience. And can I say, even if you've seen Fraser before, you've seen Katie before, there will be brand new stories, brand new things happening, and just getting together with our fans and talking to fans. It is just such a great time. Anyone who's been before, they know how good it is. But if you've not been, come along, try it out. I think you're going to have a great time.
Chris, what are your thoughts on our live events?
Well, they're great. I mean, I first met you guys at the Janet.
Spoken like a true fan.
The Janet one. Yeah, that's where we met, and it's I enjoy every single one of them. They're great fun. Yeah, learn a lot about them. Get to spend a bit of time with them as well. It's a lot. It's more one-on-one than the sort of the Comic Cons and everything because you sort of herded through there like cattle. But here you get a lot more time.
So you've done Comic Cons, have you?
I've done one or two, yeah. I don't go to many. I went to one where Louise Jamieson was there because I couldn't. It's the only time I thought I'd ever get to meet her, and she came to Melbourne. But yeah, you just get hurdled through. You get like a couple of minutes with her, and then you're off on your way. But at these ones, you really get to spend some time with them, get to get a good chat with them, and they do tell a lot of good stories. So really, honestly, get out there. If you haven't been, come along.
Stick with me, Chris. We'll spend some more time with Lou. I'll organise a proper one-on-one time with you and Lou down the track.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
And me, Philip.
Oh, okay, you can come too.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be awesome.
But as Chris said, I mean, it's interesting how many friends I've made and relationships built since we started just with that first one with Janet. Because I mean, there's probably 10, 15 people that I contact with all the time that I hadn't known beforehand from that, and just seeing the same faces turn up. So I love now getting together, and as I said, I love going to Melbourne and catching up with all the Melbourne guys. Have good relationships there. Hoping to do the same with Brisbane and Adelaide all the time as well.
I'm stoked to get to Melbourne for the first time too.
You've not done Melbourne yet.
No,
I've not
you've
done
never
Melbourne.
been to the Melbourne. No.
Oh, you will love Melbourne. It's a great bunch of fans. Very different to Sydney, but also the location too. We meet in this old house which actually Chris found. It's the best location. It's just it's very relaxed, laid back, beautiful Parkville. It's a great spot.
Excellent. All right, that's our live events. Before we start to talk about the two specific stories that we're going to talk about, there is one thing we have to do. Do you know what that is, Philip?
No, what's that, Dwayne?
I think Chris knows what it is. We have to jump down the rabbit hole. Let's go!
I had to do that.
Thank you for joining us down the rabbit hole, Chris. Philip, I'm going to hit you with this question. We're talking about lost stories today. So it got me thinking about potential missing, so I'll put it in both camps, missing or lost stories that you've got a sort of a wish list. What's on the top of your wish list for either a missing story return or a lost story to be remade somehow?
Okay, so lost stories, I love it when they turn up, but most of the lost stories were lost for a reason. And even though I enjoy them and I enjoy what they bring and the history of the show, and it adds a new dimension to things, the reason why they weren't done is usually pretty clear when you get into them. So I actually don't mind. In terms of missing episodes, I just want anything back. I guess top on my... I don't know, it changes. Mythmakers is probably very high on my list. I'm really fascinated to know how that looks. Savages, I'm fascinated. I guess my greatest desire is the Dalek Master Plan to have all the episodes, because the 3 episodes we have, I just think are some of the best Doctor Who we have. And if they manage to maintain that throughout the entire run, I just think it would be astounding to see. So I'm desperate to see, and I know they're out there, some of those missing episodes, because there's some so-called fans who are enjoying the fact that they've got them in their collection, but please share them with the rest of us, guys. The love would be great.
They're only going to last so long before they deteriorate, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And possibly, they're definitely deteriorating already. There's no way they can be looked after and stored. And, yes, well done that you've got something no one else has, but please share it. Because, show the love. But I could go
Yeah.
on. I mean, all the missing Patrick trousers. I mean, all of season 3, all of season 4. There's so much of it missing, and yet it looks like such an amazing period of time and such an amazing time of change.
And when we have got returned episodes, most recently, boy, were we treated to stuff, like particularly Enemy of the World, and people who love the Web of Fear as well. That was so good to get most of those episodes back. What you're talking about, lost stories being lost for a reason. What about, how do you feel about the original season 23 and the original season 27 that's been redone for Big Finish?
Okay, season 27 I actually like, but it was such a, there wasn't much there, and it really was, the rights were to be very creative. And so introduction of Rain, I think Rain's a great companion. I think some of the ideas that were there were really good, but there was so little done that I think that was really helpful. I do actually think, this original season 23, I think that was better not made. They really hadn't learned from their mistakes from season 22, and the same issues with season 22 were going to season 23. So, as a piece of history, I enjoy listening to the stories, but there's nothing in there that I think is that good. What do you like in there, Dwayne? Am I being awful?
Well, there is one story that it really intrigues me that I would love to see remade if someone can do it, because I know there was one episode made out of the 3 45-minute episodes, or written, I should say, and that's Yellow Fever and How to Cure It, which was set in Singapore with the Master, the Rani, the Autons. I find that because the Autons are one of my favourite Doctor Who monsters, I am intrigued by that. I'm probably a bit overpacked with the Master and the Rani in the same story, but the Master would have been good with the Autons once again, because he's going back to his old, not companions, what do you call them? Old colleagues from the past. So that would have been nice to revisit. I do know that there is a fan group that is working on Yellow Fever, and I think the other working title for that was Made in Singapore, wasn't it? Because that was where it was set. And that fan group is working on making an audio version of that. So I'll be curious to see how that sounds when it comes out. But as far as missing episodes go, for me, I would have to agree with you on the Mythmakers. That is my number one, because it's my favorite audio. I love the slightly more comedic historicals like the Romans. The Mythmakers was another one. The dialogue in that is just so gorgeous. It'd be nice to see the actors' faces with all that dialogue as well. I also really enjoy the Space Pirates, so I would love to see the Space Pirates come back, and we would have a almost complete, bar those 2 episodes from the Invasion season 6. Yeah, so it'd be, if the Space Pirates did come back, it would be as complete as season 2, wouldn't it? Because there's only 2 episodes missing from season 2.
And I suspect the Space Pirates is actually probably a lot better than it's been given credit for. I think once we saw it,
absolutely is. Yeah,
I think we probably have the worst episode, like we had with
Enemy of the World.
And I do think the rest of the episode would be really good. Because once again, there's a good chance Space Pirates could be returned, because it was on in the 1970s. It could have been taped off air. That whole collection was found in Melbourne. I'm still hoping it may be found from there. And Marco Polo, I mean, I'm pretty confident that exists. And just, once again, please return it. And then we have a complete season 1. Well, except for Unearthly Child, which we can't watch anymore because of bizarre reasons.
Not officially, anyway.
I've got 2 copies of that. Anyone wants one?
What about you, Chris? What are you missing?
Oh, just like you. There's too many, and it does change, but Dalek Master Plan is up there. The Savages is definitely one up there. That's one of my favourite audios. I love listening to that. The Macra Terror. I'd like to see the Macra Terror. That's been a favourite book of mine for years. Just anything, really. Anything. Just bring it back and let us watch it. The Space Pirates. Like you said, anything I'll take. The Web of Fear, just that one missing episode, just so we got the complete episode, the complete story. Because that's
we know that exists somewhere. Someone has that.
Yeah.
We know they have it.
Just give it to us and let us watch it. I hope to win the lotto one day, and if I do, I will pay. I'll pay you to give it to us, and then I'll send it out for everyone. But it's too hard to answer. There's just too many that I really want to see. But Master Plan, I'd say, is up there, top one.
Okay. As far as Lost stories go, too, speaking with Michael Herbert in our last episode, I didn't realise that Malcolm Hulke had submitted a couple of scripts for their first series, and that was Britain 408 AD was his first. Well, no, it was his second one. There was a story there called The Hidden Planet, which was submitted in 1964. It was supposed to be a 6-part story where there was a parallel Earth opposite the moon, on the other side of the moon, where I think the women were the dominant race of the planet. So that would have been interesting. We got something similar to that a bit later in, is it this Prison in Space, where the women were all in charge there? That was this one could
Galaxy
have been done
4.
probably a little bit. Galaxy 4 was another one that was similar
Space
ideas.
1999 did an episode. It was shocking. So anytime they've tried to do it, it hasn't worked.
Right.
So the Hidden Planet was actually I remember a April Fool's joke where Doctor Who magazine had actually found a colorized version of the Hidden Planet as a whole double-page article about it, which I remember being so excited waiting to see this come out. Of course, it didn't, and I was totally floored by it because I was about 12 at the time. But it had all sorts of pictures.
One thing I did discover talking with Michael was that Malcolm Hulke, I didn't even realise this. I don't know if you knew, Philip or Chris, that he wrote a radio series, and the pilot episode was recorded with Peter Cushing playing Doctor Who, his character from the movies.
The movies, right?
And that was
okay.
that was actually recorded, written by Malcolm Hulke, and that's been lost. So I would love to see that audio play discovered and hear how Peter Cushing sounded on audio as Doctor Who. We can't call him the Doctor; it's Doctor Who for him, isn't it?
Or Tarkin, Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, that was a few years away,
Doctor
wasn't
Who
it?
for me.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, thanks for your thoughts there, guys. I think it's time to jump out of the rabbit hole, and we're going to talk, first of all, we're going to talk about these in release order. So Operation Werewolf was released first, and I'm just going to throw in a trailer for that right here.
Where are we, Doctor?
Exactly where we're meant to be, Jamie. Normandy 1066.
They didn't have many railways in William the Conqueror's day, did they, Doctor?
No. Right place.
Wrong time.
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Lost Stories, Operation Werewolf.
What's that?
I think I know. Aeroplane. What are those things lighting it up?
Searchlights, Jamie.
Someone's shooting at it.
Oh, dear.
Well, that rules out the 19th century.
Yes, sir.
Sir Aubrey, the radio room has just picked up a call from the resistance group in Normandy. They say they've found the Doctor.
The Doctor? Who are you? And what are you doing here?
I'm Jamie McCrimmon.
I'm Zoe Harriet. We just arrived.
In Normandy? They're headed this way. I'll try to drill them off.
Papa.
Look after my daughter.
All right, we wouldn't want him to die before the Commandant had a chance to question him.
I am Hauptsturmführer Leni Bruckner, aide de camp to Gruppenführer Schneider. We have been expecting you, Herr Doctor.
So, this is a police box. The Doctor will have the key. Fascinating.
How are our two guests? They know too much. So we interrogate them, force the truth out of them.
If they are spies, I will happily kill them myself.
You're members of the Resistance, aren't you?
Well done.
3, 2, 1, and activate!
You mean these two cabinets
A
are...
means of instantaneous meta transmission.
You, Professor Hans Richter, have mastered teleportation.
The locations of the main troop camps on the south coast. We will shortly send over an elite commando force who will release the gas at the camps.
What is it? It's poisonous gas.
What about gas masks?
We don't have any. The troops will then fall under our control.
I am loyal to the Third Reich. Heil Hitler.
The gas and lunar light will turn the Allied poodles into Nazi wolves. Hence the name of this plan, Operation Werewolf.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
So there you go, boys. I just realised that I didn't read a blurb before I played that trailer, so I will do that right now. The TARDIS has brought the Doctor Jamie and Zoe to Normandy in France, not in 1066 as intended, but in 1944, 3 days before the Allies are due to launch the D-Day landings. Joining forces with French partisans, they learn that the Germans have been conducting secret experiments at a nearby chateau. These experiments form part of a plan that German High Command believe will enable them to win the Second World War. The name of that plan? Operation Werewolf.
I've got the facts and the trivia to do too.
Oh, okay, Philip, hit us with the tracks and the fivia. Yeah, hit us with the tracks and the. No, I can't even say it now. You just.
Let me give you the facts and the trivia of Operation Werewolf. This is number 8.2 in the Lost Stories range, written by Robert Kitts and Douglas Camfield, and adapted by Jonathan Morris, friend of the podcast. Starring Michael Trout as the Doctor, Fraser Hines as Jamie, and Wendy Padbury as Zoe, and also starring a really, really huge cast, and I can't read most of their names, so I'm not going to. Sound design and music by Jamie Robertson, and the script editor was John Dorney. It was directed and produced by David O'Mahony, and we'll hear that name again, and cover by Georgia O'Boy. And this is actually the first cover Georgia has done for Big Finish. The storyline was submitted in 1967 by Douglas Camfield, director of Doctor Who, in lots of really fantastic episodes, and a friend of his. There was a real Operation Werewolf during World War II, but it was not initiated by the Allies. It was actually a Nazi propaganda plot designed by Himmler that was unleashed guerrilla warfare across Europe in the hope of slowing down the armed forces after D-Day. It's hard to measure how successful it was, but it did exist. Jonathan Morris had wanted to do this story since the Lost Story range began, as he had known about it for many years. Jonathan wrote this story from a 6-page outline of the whole story and an 11-page breakdown of the story into 6 episodes. Episode 1 was apparently written, but was lost in time. The original story had Victoria as the companion, and so needed to be rewritten with Zoe at her part due to the passing of Deborah Watley. And her part was expanded greatly. And this is a very unusual story and possibly unique story in terms of it's set in real history with a scientific invention far beyond its time, but not of alien origin. So it's kind of a sci-fi historical, which is a new concept that hadn't happened before. And that's the facts and the trivia.
Thank you for that, Philip. We couldn't do one of these without a facts and a trivia, so appreciate that. Now, my question is, where did you first hear of this? Because for me, it was a long time ago. Was it the same for you?
I think I first heard about this story existing in a Doctor Who monthly or Doctor Who magazine many years ago when they were listing Lost Stories. So I think it sort of came up then, would have been the first time I heard about it. But I was never interested particularly in Lost Stories. They have never really interested me. And so it was part of an article which I probably would have flipped through but not paid much attention to.
Okay. The first time I heard of this was at a fan event. Would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe just before Robert Kitts died, because I know he died in Sydney in 2002, and I was at an event where he was there. He had the actual script with him. He was showing that to us. So we were going up and chatting to him. I think he was doing autographs. Don't know what he was signing. Maybe people were showing him Douglas Camfield things that he was signing because he was working with Douglas. But yeah, so that's where I first found out about it. I can't remember exactly when it was. It may have been the early 90s even, at a really early event that I went to when I was quite young.
Something in Sydney?
It was definitely in Sydney at the Drummoyne, that club at Drummoyne that all those events.
Okay.
The same place you took Sylvester that time.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there for many events, so maybe I was there.
Yes.
And I have no memory of that even happening.
Right.
That's sad.
There you go. Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
I'm getting old.
What about you, Chris? Had you?
No, never heard of it. Hadn't heard of it before. To be honest, when I first saw the cover, I thought it was about werewolves. And I only learnt tonight that Operation Werewolf was actually a real operation, but run by the Nazis. So I looked that up after I listened to the story. So, but no, I'd never heard of it before.
Okay. So, it looks a bit werewolfy, doesn't it? That cover.
The cover does, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the setting,
can I
guys?
say it's a spectacular cover. Like I really love this cover, and it's the first one done by a new artist.
And you can see that it's got the season 5 vibe to it with his beanie on, because that's the kind of beanie that he wore in Fury from the Deep, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it does have a werewolf feel to it. So if you don't read the blurb, I don't, and you didn't know it was an actual thing from World War II, you'd think it was about werewolves, which I did. So I was surprised when I read the blurb.
And there's no werewolves. See, I wouldn't have read the blurb, so I would have been in big trouble. So actually, I was probably expecting werewolves. I was probably expecting werewolves to turn up, to be honest. And then once I worked out, oh no, it's World War II.
Yeah, I was too, and then I discovered that this was an actual historical thing, because I searched Operation Werewolf, and the real werewolf came up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, that's what you always do with historicals, and I actually like this as a. It's kind of a historical, isn't it? But it's unusual. There's nothing quite like it. I think even Jonathan Morris said that there's never been a Doctor Who story quite like it.
I didn't think there was either, because it's usually you've got people coming back from the future to manipulate events, to change the events in the future. But this time you've got people in the present day manipulating things to their own end, and then they start to manipulate it to change the future. That's not their first aim at the start. So I thought that was I didn't think there had been anything like it before either.
Yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibility, because we do know that the Germans were working on a whole heap of science and technologies, trying to get a footstep in the war, and they almost invented the atom bomb first. And had they managed to get the atom bomb built, before they collapsed, the war could have been a very different ending. So they was definitely working on technology. Now, this technology, which allowed transportation instantly from one place to another, of course, wasn't invented, but in the context of the stories, well, it may have been, because it was destroyed at the end anyhow. But it was a very fascinating idea to have a story set in a real time period, but with a technology created by people, which was far beyond time. So as I said, it's a science historical. We get used to cut story set today with all those elements of people inventing machines that are beyond science.
Yeah.
But to actually have something created, in World War II beyond science is not something that. And I don't know why not. Why hasn't Doctor Who done this before? Because it's a brilliant idea.
It is. It absolutely is. I certainly got Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of vibes out of that, particularly with the Nazi element. And is that probably a big reason why it wasn't made, apart from the fact that it would have been a huge budget to make it? What about the being so close to World War II?
I reckon it might have been that. I could see it being made, definitely being made, because they made the War Games. I mean, that was how many episodes, and that would have been a huge budget and a lot of cast. So I could actually see this one being made over the other one, over Deathworld.
Yeah, I think this really could have been made. Of all the Lost Stories in terms of we listened to recently, this one is superb, and I was engaged the whole time, and I could picture how they would do it. I could picture the sets, the locations. It is very much like War Games, has that sort of feel and vibe to it, and so you can see it happening. But I can understand that in 1967, which is only really 20 years since the Second World War ended, at that stage it's very hard to portray Nazis and some of the things that happen in the story, because we don't do spoilers. But a lot of the situations that actually happen here, people would have been, the parents or the kids would have been through that and known that. And I can understand why the production office may have actually gone, it's too close to home at the moment. I think you could do it now, because I think we're far enough away from World War II. And as much as, I think you're right, it did have that Raiders of the Lost Ark feel, which once again was another 20 years on further. Except I think some of the Nazis in World War in Raiders of the Lost Ark are bad, and others are sort of comic. Whereas these ones actually, I think, portray the Nazis appropriately, which is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can see there on the screen now, I've got when it was recorded end of January. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. So sometimes they've recorded years in advance, but this one's quite recent. when it's all said and done. The interesting thing about this, I haven't seen this before. Not particularly, not with them narrating it at the start of every episode. Every episode title had a different name, a different title. So episode 1, The Secret Army, episode 2, The Chateau of Death, episode 3, Lair of the Werewolf, episode 4, Friend or Foe, episode 5, Village of Lies, episode 6, Crossfire. How do you think that came across in your listening experience? Did you enjoy that?
Chris?
To be honest, yeah, I did. I actually quite liked it. It didn't actually feel like 6 episodes, to be honest, to me. It actually flowed really well, and and it did take me back to that period. Having, I think it was Wendy who did most of them, didn't she? Except maybe
they alternated.
They all took turns.
They did alternate. I remember Wendy doing it the most, actually, and that took me I quite liked it. Yeah, it didn't take me away from anything.
To me, it felt a bit like some of the title sequences that they experimented with in season 6 and season 7 of Doctor Who, where often they have the opening titles and they'd come back later and do something a bit more bizarre. Sort of like Inferno had all the titles going over the volcanic eruption. So to me, it was like they had the title sequence and then they added that little bit on before. I think Ambassadors of Death did it as well. I think what other series did it. There's a few series.
They had the title sequence, then a cold open, then another title sting with the episode title, and then into the story and Ambassador of Death.
So that's Ambassador of Death.
Really effective. Yeah,
that
was really effective.
Inferno did the titles and numbers over volcanoes. The Victoria story with the Ice Warriors had it over snow, and so occasionally they experimented with so occasionally Doctor Who That's right. So they often just experiment with their openings a bit more. And to me, that felt like it was one of those experimental episodes. And actually, that when Dougie Camfield wrote this, he was thinking he was still thinking First Doctor and individual titles and hadn't quite moved on to the fact that that had been cut out by now. So
it has been, hadn't it? So because when was it cut out originally? When was the last time they had that? Was it? I can't remember now.
It was the episode before the Savages. That was the first one. So it was Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah, so it was quite a while. So it was quite, so okay. I mean, I did like it, but you're right. It is out of place for the time period.
But it's interesting when John Le Carrotti wrote The Ark in Space, he had individual episode titles because he was used to writing for William Hartnell as well. So it was unusual for writers to come in and think that's what Doctor Who did because that's what they remembered and still do it. So because originally The Ark in Space had individual titles too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else from the story that stood out to either of you, Philip?
I mean, just performance-wise, Michael Troughton, I think, is just so similar to his dad. I think it's just astounding, his voice and his mannerisms and his little coughs and his breathing. It feels like Patrick Troughton. I mean, I loved Fraser Hines' interpretation of the Second Doctor, and I was actually quite sad when they decided to recast it. But I've just got so.
I actually was too.
Yeah,
I was too. I like Fraser's. I really like Fraser's.
I think Fraser was too, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yes. I'm no doubt we'll talk about that. I think we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks' time. But that being said, Michael, he just sounds like his dad. It is hearing through the headphones. You'd be sure it was Patrick Troughton doing it. Fraser, I think Fraser's still amazing in terms of his voice and how he managed to still capture it. And Wendy's doing really well too. In terms of the rest of the cast, it was great that they managed to cast French actors or German actors, or at least with those backgrounds, so the accents, because they do put the accents on. It's always one of those questions that Doctor Who's never sure about. Do we use the accents that we don't? I just watched The Mask of Mandragora, and they don't use Italian accents in that. They just speak proper English. And all sorts of shows often don't put on the accents. I mean, sometimes they do. So it's always a directorial choice. But because you were dealing with English, French, German, I think we actually did need the accents, so we actually knew who we were dealing with. But what they did was they actually cast people with French backgrounds, German backgrounds, to ensure the accents were more genuine, which I think worked really well. I will just point out that the director and producer, David O'Mahony, has put himself as one of the characters in this. And actually, when we get to the next one, because he also directs and produces,
Does it
he's
again,
also
doesn't he?
he does it again. So because his background is actually an actor with Big Finish, so David O'Mahony started as an actor with Big Finish and has now moved into producing and directing a few different ranges.
And what did you think of his role as Fergus McCrimmon? I really enjoyed it. I think he's a great actor, actually.
Yeah, I was really impressed by his acting.
I thought they were all great too. I thought the accents were great. I thought one of the characters, to be honest, I thought one of the actresses was Charlie, Wendy's daughter, for quite a bit of it. Until I looked at the back and realised she's not even in it. But one of the girls I thought sounded exactly like Charlie. And I really liked Sir Aubrey. I thought he was great too.
Yeah. I'm amazed they managed to get such a big cast for this production. So, we should try and get David on as one of the new young guns of Big Finish.
Yeah, I would like to speak to him, actually, because he's been doing quite a lot lately, and he seems to be pretty passionate about what he does. So, yeah, it would be great to talk to him. So let's have a look at the production side of things. And for me, the major star of this story is Jamie Robertson. His sound design in this had me salivating, let me tell you. There was so much going on. I had my good quality headphones. I often put in my lesser quality headphones, but this one you need to put on your best headphones because there is so much in there, so much detail. There's things going on in the background. The depth in the sound design is incredible. I really enjoy the music. It stays pretty faithful to the era. And yeah, just the whole thing is a Jamie Robertson masterpiece, if you ask me.
I really love some of the sound effects he created, which were new creations for sound effects, but so in the vein of the 60s. So just the travel booth and other things, and just how he mentioned it was sort of thinking it's not a sound effect you use today, but it still really works. But it's so evocative of the period. So and he had a lot of sound effects he had to create from scratch. Aside from the fact that every environment, the castle, the London offices, the streets, even the dark streets of London, the soundscape just sounded like what you'd expect to hear in those locations.
Just when there was just some of the, I think maybe was it the German scenes where they were talking, I could hear it way deep in the sound mix. I could hear chickens, in the background. So it was so authentic, and he was so much attention to detail. I adored that. This is probably one of my favourite Jamie Robertson stories. Well, it is this month anyway.
I think I need to invest in some good headsets because I've only got a cheap $20 pair from Big W.
Yeah, worth getting a good set, Chris.
Yeah, I'll have to. Yeah, I listened to some of it in the car, to be honest, and it is hard. I mean, I wouldn't have heard the chickens driving in the car at all.
Yeah,
so,
you do miss a lot in the car.
You do, but I do listen to a bit when I'm cooking as well, and it does take me to that era, and it gets me through the cooking because I hate cooking. So, yeah.
I'm the same. It's pretty much every chore I've got to do, and then my wife tries to talk to me, and I can't hear her. So
yeah, no, I get in trouble for that too. I get in trouble for having it sitting while I'm cooking, but I've got to do it or I hate it. Yeah.
Very good. Any final thoughts on Operation Werewolf?
Definitely worth the money. This is a fantastic story. It doesn't matter whether it's a lost story or not. This one's just worth getting because it's a great second story yarn, really well produced, and this one is definitely worth the money.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Yep.
All right. Let's go into Deathworld, and I will read a blurb for that story. The Doctor was dead to begin with, killed alongside his beloved Joe Grant in an explosion in the unit labs. But Time Lords are notoriously hard to kill, because with unit under siege, the Brigadier is rescued by two familiar faces, the Doctor he first encountered fighting the Yeti, and Jamie McCrimmon, with yet one more waiting in the wings. They're all pawns in a deadly game of chess, playing played by a being more powerful than any they've ever encountered before. And when you battle Death himself, can anyone even win?
Did you know that the game of chess exists in some form or other in almost every advanced civilization across the galaxy?
From Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Lost Stories, Deathworld.
If you wouldn't mind, I am in the middle of a fascinating experiment.
Trap 1, come in. Can't have reached the base already. No! No!
Brigadier, I think I understand. I suspect you're in my future. And if I'm right, that means there's another me around.
You are not the Doctor.
Oh, but I think you'll find that I am, sir.
What, so there's three of you?
I can't interfere with my own future, Brigadier. The consequences could be disastrous.
Doctor?
Doctor? Doctor!
Oh, my word.
Jamie?
Good day, Alistair.
Good grief. You're...
Yes. You are face to face with death. And like that, the final king falls into my hands.
You fool, Doctor. You fool.
Now the real battle begins.
Joe, where are you?
And who's this Joe?
Oh, no, not you.
Would you two stop prattling away at each other, whoever you are?
Oh, no. Not you.
You two?
Yes.
Where are we?
I am the end of all life, and you are now entering my domain. Welcome to Deathworld.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
Deathworld, The Facts and the Trivia. Number 8.1 in the Lost Stories range. Written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. Adapted by John Dorney. Recorded September 2023 and released August 2024. Starring Tim Treloar, Michael Troughton and Stephen Noonan as the Doctor. 3, 2 and 1. Katie Manning as Joe Grant. Fraser Hines as Jamie. And John Coleshaw as the Brigadier. Also starring Joe Shire, Diane Pinkerton and David O'Mahony. Much smaller cast this one once you take out all the regulars. The sound design and music is by Tim Steamson. Script editor was Simon Gurrier. Produced and directed by David O'Mahony, again, and cover by Sean Longmore. This was the original proposal put to Barry Letts and Terence Dix to open the 10th season of Doctor Who. The third Doctor producers and script editor team, they liked a gimmick to open each season, and they'd avoided, even though being asked many times, the fact of the Doctor's meeting, even though this was a big fan idea, because they felt it was just too fan to do it. But finally they agreed to bring a story together because it was going to be the 10th anniversary year. This story would be rejected and replaced by The Three Doctors, which has some similarities. The story is a mismatch of mythological creatures, such as Medusa, with characters from apocalyptic literature, such as the Four Horsemen from Revelation 6, Dante's epic poem Inferno, and also views of hell, and also Roman Catholic theology, such as the Seven Deadly Sins. And that's the facts and the trivia.
Thank you, Philip. Now, Chris, you're currently doing a watch through of the Third Doctor era. Have you reached the Third Doctors yet?
No, I actually don't have. I do have the. I'm actually going through the collection at the moment, so the collection boxes, but I don't have the collection box with the Three Doctors in it yet. I am viewing it.
Oh, you don't have season 10.
No, you should see.
I do.
You should see. Well, no, yeah, but I want the actual UK edition. You should see some of the prices on eBay. Some of them people are asking over $700 for it, just for that box. Yeah, it's crazy. And then there's one person in America asking $80. So I've got my eye on that one.
So you definitely want to go for the UK version. You don't want to try and get an Aussie one. You want the consistency of packaging.
Yeah, well, if it's UK or Aussie, I don't mind, but I don't want the Blu-rays, that Blu-ray flip case ones. I want the actual special edition collector's ones.
The big, thick ones with the booklet.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So I've got most of them, but I don't have that one, unfortunately. So that'll be the next one I get. But no, I've seen the Three Doctors plenty of times. But I had no idea until after listening to this that was actually one of the original plans for the Three Doctors. So that was quite surprising.
Well, it was virtually their first pitch. And Philip, is this potentially one of those stories that is lost for a reason?
Oh, with good reason. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, this is, once again, it's fascinating in terms of Doctor Who history. And so, for those people who haven't bought this yet, if you're interested in Doctor Who history and what could have been, this is worth getting. But it's although it's really well produced and really well acted, and the dialogue, I think, is really excellent. I think John Dorney's done an amazing job with dialogue. I love the interplay. The plot is really weak, and the story is really poor. So you don't get this hoping for a good story because it really wasn't there. And as I said, I think I probably showed my bias in the trivia. There's this mismatch of theology and mythology, and it just doesn't quite work because Bob Baker, and can I say, Bob Baker and Dave Martin, I know they were favourites of Terence and Barry, and I think because they produce things quickly, none of their stories are good. Actually, the three Doctors.
I disagree.
They have some very large plot holes and tropes and just big periods of nothing much happening. I think we could do an examination of Bob
Underworld is amazing.
It has some good moments. But yeah, I think once again, if you look at their tropes, you actually see their tropes throughout. And I mean, Underworld is a perfect example of the trope of mythology and taking a myth and then writing a story around it. Here they've tried to take too much. So they've taken the four horsemen of the apocalypse from Revelation, which itself I thought was an okay idea. But then when you're using the idea of death from Dante's Inferno, and then you're adding in the mythology of Medusa, and then you're adding the Catholic theology of the seven deadly sins, it becomes this mismatch of things that I don't think they actually understood. I don't think they understood anything properly. I don't think they understood the four horsemen. I don't think they understood the seven deadly sins. I don't think so, because they were just glancing on the surface of these ideas, that nothing actually hit well. So as I said, so in terms of plot, I'd really attack it. But in terms of the acting and the dialogue, because I think what John Dorney's done with dialogue is wonderful. There's amazing scenes in this that are just so much fun. So the interplay of the Doctors, the second and the third Doctor in particular, when they bring the first Doctor in, there's this beautiful interplay that I really love. One of the reasons that this was also rejected was also just because of William Hartnell's health. That when this was written, they actually didn't realise William Hartnell was as sick as he was and would not be able to film. I mean, he already had a reduced role in this. So, I mean, Stephen Nunez does a lovely first Doctor. We always praise his performances. And once again, he does this lovely first Doctor. But William Hartnell wouldn't have been well enough to have actually filmed this. So, the way they manage the three Doctors is beautiful. I mean, his scenes of the three Doctors I adore. And, yeah, it's just a joy. And once again, the first Doctor and the interplay with the second and the third Doctor. And there is all these little nods to the three Doctors in the dialogue. So, yeah, I really enjoy that. I do enjoy the performances.
Chris, what are your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It was very mismatched. Like, it was kind of almost felt a bit of mixture of like the Mind Robber and the Celestial Toymaker at some points. That was just, I don't know, just all mismatched. You're right. I did like some of the first Doctor's fluffed lines that he did, obviously on purpose, a couple of times. That was quite clever, and I did enjoy that. But it was hard to imagine them doing this back in the 70s. I kept thinking of when they were floating in the void. I kept thinking of Peter Davison in is it Ark of Infinity, where he's floating in the Matrix?
We're seeing his bum with one foot on the ground and one leg up and down. Yeah,
exactly. And I just kept thinking of these three doing that back in the 70s. But overall, yeah, you're right. The acting was great though, and the Brigadier, I would have sworn that was Nick Courtney. Like, it's just wow. Yeah.
John Colesaw is just astounding in terms of his vocal range. Stephen Noonan, first Doctor, have you heard him perform in other things, or is this the first time you've heard him perform?
No, this was actually my first time that I'd heard him as the first Doctor. So, I liked his little all the little First Doctor intricate little things like his hoofs or his huffs and his stuffing up the lines, like I said before. So he did a good job.
Yeah, he really does capture the First Doctor's idiosyncrasies really well.
Yes, yeah.
Makes me laugh all the time in terms of, and it's just a throwaway line. Apparently, David Armani didn't actually know that's what William Hartnell did. And during the course of actually, he kept saying, that's wrong, you're using the wrong line, not realizing Stephen Noonan had actually prepared the script in terms of, modified it to be appropriate for the First Doctor. And a lot of the cast get thrown by him doing this, which no doubt was what happened with William Hartnell would have been the same. Like, what's he going to say next? What did you think, Dwayne?
Well, in terms of the story, I have a bit of a hard time dealing with characters who are the personification of death. It's not the first time this character has been portrayed in Doctor Who. There's been several audios, several books. Most notably on Big Finish is Master, where Death is portrayed there by Charlie Hayes. Actually plays Death very well, might I add. But I just find the whole concept a bit abstract and a bit hard to deal with. I felt this story, it was wrapped up pretty quickly, and it was given sort of a get out of jail free at the kind of at the end, pretty easily. So the threat wasn't ultimately as threatening as it appeared to be all the way through. But the star of this piece is the interplay between all the characters, the doctors. They are perfect. I would recommend, you get this for the characters, the dialogue, the characters. Sound design's good. It's a different sound design, and we'll get to him in a moment. But as far as the characters go, absolutely sensational. I loved the pairing of the First Doctor with the Brigadier. I thought that was sensational. Yeah. It made me chuckle when he said, "Oh, you're related to someone called Brett Byard."
Oh yeah,
that was,
yes.
That was funny.
Yep.
So
yeah, little touches.
I'd love to. Was that John Dorney or was that Stephen? I wonder who put that in, because that was a nice touch. That was.
I did like that. I like that they put that in as well. Finally,
that sounds like a John Dorney to me. I would venture to say that's John putting that one in. So because it definitely wouldn't have been in the TV show. You've got all those little things peppered through that are nuds to things that us diehard fans will know. But the characterization was sensational, and just a pleasure to listen to just for that, even though I didn't quite understand the story.
Yeah, I mean, all the interplays. So, Fraser and Katie together were wonderful. The pairings up of all the Doctor with their companion. I think once again captured the second Doctor's voice really well. Patrick's my favorite Doctor, and he really managed to capture a lot of the sort of lines that you could just hear coming out of Patrick's mouth, and then out of Michael's mouth, he just sounds like his dad. Yeah, all the dialogue, all the interplay, loved it. Just sorry about the plot. But yeah, that's why they lost stories. They weren't made for a reason, generally speaking.
Do you think the start? I was going to say, do you think the start with Death playing chess with the president? Do you think that was because there's a movie that happens in as well, but it's not the president; it's a soldier, and they're playing Death and the soldier are playing chess on the beach. It's an Ingrid Bergman movie. Have you heard it? The Seventh Seal. Do you think that had something? Because that's what I thought of it when they first started talking at the start of the show.
Yeah, I do think, I said, Bob Bacon and Dave Martin mercilessly rip off other people and other people's work. I'd say, that's exactly what they were doing. It wouldn't have been a female.
Holmes never did that, of course.
Pardon?
Robert Holmes never ripped anybody off, of course.
Yeah, but at least he didn't pretend he wasn't. I think Robert Holmes was blatantly going, I'm now doing a horror. I'm now doing Dracula. I'm now doing Frankenstein. I think Bob Bacon and Dave Martin were trying to be more subtle with what they were stealing from, and also not doing as well. But yeah, no, I actually enjoyed the scenes with Death and the President. It just didn't make sense. But once again, there's set pieces throughout this whole work that I think are really enjoyable. I just don't think they fit together. but the actual set pieces themselves are quite engaging and entertaining. But often I think, but where's the flow? And that, and yeah.
Yeah.
Just look here what Katie Manning says. She said, "This brought back to me that moment all those years ago when we filmed The Three Doctors, and that's such an extraordinary feeling. Just thinking about it, I've got goosebumps. Every single actor that's ever played the Doctor has given it the two hearts, one from the actor and one from the incredible character, and they brought their own magic to it. They're three such beautifully different characters, and listening to them all together in this much longer script than we had in The Three Doctors is fascinating." Can you imagine what that's like for Katie to be in a room with all those voices around her? It must be quite surreal.
It must be.
I hadn't actually, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, it must bring back a lot of memories for her.
So there's the cast, a smaller cast than the previous story we were talking about, Operation Werewolf. Just three other cast members apart from the regulars.
And one of those is the director producer, so he may not have got an acting pay. He's just part of the ensemble, so he may not actually be paid for that.
Potentially.
Yeah. If he actually made this on the same budget, if he put the two together, remember all the main cast members and companions don't have to come out of the budget, the acting budget for the producer. So maybe he just used two people for this one, and then he got the huge cast for the other one by combining those two budgets together to get his casting. I'd be curious to know if that's how they managed to get such a big cast for the other show. I would say Joe Shire, his voice is just beautiful.
Snap.
I
was going straight to Joe. It's just such a velvety, like just so soothing in the headphones. Just brilliant. I hope we get more of him. He was great.
Didn't feel like Death to me though. He seemed too nice to be Death. Like he was too silky and too nice. Well,
it kind of turned out that way in the end, didn't it? Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, but we all knew it was going to.
He's a regular in Torchwood Soho. So if you like his voice, he plays a main character in Torchwood Soho, which is I kept trying to work out where I knew his voice from the whole time. I just kept listening, but he's actually more presidential to me. He'd make a fantastic Rassilon rather than Death. So I actually, who played Rassilon in Neverland? Which actor?
It was Don Warrington. Similar voice,
very similar voice to Don Warrington. So when I went to look at the cast, I was actually looking for Don, thinking it must have been him, but it was Joe Shire.
Yeah. I have to admit, I haven't gone on outside of Doctor Who on Big Finish, to be honest. I can't afford it, to be because I am one who likes to buy the actual CDs, so I do have most of it. Like I buy the CDs, but I'll just stick to the Doctor Who ones and the Companion Chronicles and the Missing Stories. I can't afford the rest.
Can I say there's no way I could keep doing it if I was importing all the CDs. I just have to go. Yeah. No, I've had to go. I'll just deal with downloads and just hate the fact that my CD cupboard's not getting any fuller.
Yeah, I know. The postage is crazy at the moment, isn't it? So
yeah, the postage is usually the same price as the materials.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, can't cope with that myself. Sound design, Tim Steamson. He's done a few different things, and I guess he's going to be doing more and more. A few different things with David O'Mahony, I think. Did you notice what else, Philip, that Tim had done?
He's done some Torchwood, and I think he may have done the new River Song coming out. I think that was him as well. I'd have to confirm that though. But yeah,
what do you think of his sound design? It was slightly different this one. It gave that sort of ethereal feel, and kind of it's almost like a slow motion type feel throughout the whole story. Did you get a sense of that at all?
Certainly, I found it quite unearthly. So yeah, it was interesting, and he did the battle scenes quite well, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. Different music once again too. So it's interesting with the same director. We go to a different sound designer. You get to pick the marked differences between sound designers. because he's not sticking so closely to the period as Jamie Robertson was in Operation Werewolf. So it's a little bit more free. Yeah.
I do think you do notice, because a lot of the first, second, third Doctor's stuff has been directed by Nicholas Briggs, who has such a full understanding of those eras, that I do think in the directorial choice or the editing choices that comes across. I think the fact that David O'Mahony, I assume he's a young man, he's an old man. I'm assuming as a young man that he hasn't had the same immersion in classic Doctor Who that others have had, and so he makes different choices as a young man going to the classic Doctors than someone like Nicholas has done. Nick has done. So I do actually feel the fact that this feels a bit more like modern Big Finish than classic Big Finish, but it's trying to merge the two. So it's not quite classic Doctor Who period, but nor is it quite the modern Big Finish that you'd expect to hear from the recent productions of Big Finish. So I do find that an interesting blend. I'm not quite sure I'm still quite used to it, but I'm finding it quite intriguing and certainly something I'm enjoying listening to.
Mm. Now, the cover art by Sean Longmore, let's have another look at that, because I think that both of these covers, and this one in particular, I really love this cover. It's jam-packed full of stuff and done really beautifully. It captures the Doctors well. The companions are captured perfectly. And what are your thoughts on the artwork there, Chris?
Well, it's what got me first off, to be honest. And I've just realised, is that the horsemen in the bottom in the left-hand corner, or are they just?
I think that might be soldiers, or is it the horsemen?
Soldiers, I don't know. I can't tell now. One might be. No, I really like it. The colours, it just grabs you. You've got the death in the background. John looks just amazing there. Like they've got great pictures of the Doctors there too. Just that's what got me first off. I had no idea what Deathworld was about, to be honest. I didn't read the blurb. Just thought, great cover. I think I'll get it. And I'm a sucker for multi-Doctor stories, to be honest. If there's more than one Doctor in it, I'll get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the way they kept the first Doctor from his 3 Doctors period. That's the look they've got on this cover. So I think that's a nice touch as well. They could have easily gone for something from the early 60s era, but no, they went for his early 70s look from the 3 Doctors, which I thought was nice.
They've done the same with Patrick too. I'm going to say, in terms of art, in terms of balance, choosing John with his red velvet jacket was in terms of, and then it places the center of the picture. But then actually you look at the diagonal line of red that they've used, and so you've got the Roman red jacket, you've got some fire below left diagonally, moving across diagonally, you've got Jamie's red kilt. They put Joe into a red scarf, and then the Brigadier's red hat. And so just the way the use of colour and flow in this diagonal is actually really effective. And so you could actually critique this as a piece of art because of how they've actually moved the lines. But they've done the same thing in terms of the head. Yeah, and they've done the same with Dante's Inferno images on the left, and then moving into the time and the cogs on the right, which is more modern. And even the way they've put a wave into the chessboard to show the out of controlness. So every element in that picture is really detailed, and I would love a poster size of that without the branding on my wall. So Big Finish, we need to produce some posters, because that would be a stunning thing on my wall behind me. I'd love that one.
They should do that. They actually do some really good covers, don't they?
Yeah. It's just amazing.
£15 for a poster and £30 postage to Australia.
We get 10 posters at once. It reduces a bit.
Some of us buy
it. Yeah. There you go. What were your thoughts on the way it was written to, and he weaved it, so this is John Dorney, he's very clever at this kind of thing. He weaved it so that it went into the 3 Doctors. I loved that. It's a bit of a spoiler, but not really. It's great. What were your thoughts on that, Chris?
I actually liked it too. I thought that was very clever as well. I didn't know it had anything to do with the actual original 3 Doctors. So right at the end when they weaved it into it, I thought, wow, that's really clever. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all those little nods for the fans, like mentioning Brett Brown, like the characters at the end. People who haven't watched Three Doctors 50 million times, like I probably have, aren't going to pick it up. And it doesn't matter whether they do or not. They're just the Doctors and Joe and Bridget is moving to the next adventure. But for those of us who know the show and know Arthur Hollis and know what's happening, it's just a love. Just calling out the name brings in nostalgia.
Dr. Tyler, wasn't it? Was it Dr. Tyler as well? I think
Dr. Tyler.
Yeah.
Was also mentioned. So it's just a clever way of getting fans to go, oh, It's totally manipulative, but I like being manipulated sometimes.
Oh, when John Dorney does it, it's okay.
Did you know that there was another Deathworld, though? So I don't like them using titles that we've already used. So there's actually a comic called Deathworld from Doctor Who Weekly, and it's got these Ice Warriors and the Cybermen, I think, together fighting, and that's called Deathworld as well. Did you know about that one? Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't, but that would have come out after. That would have come out after this one, though, because this was originally for 1973.
Yeah, but it was never released, though, would it? Was it? So would they?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yes,
I guess.
Yes.
No, we're going to get
the comic wins.
Okay.
I just don't count. I don't count the comics as canon, but I do count big
canon.
So,
the comic is probably 2 words. This is 1 word. There you go.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Deathworld?
Once again, in terms of Operation Werewolf, you should definitely buy. This one, just think about. If you like multi-doctor stories, if you like dialogue, great acting, it's worth getting. But just don't. If you want a really good story, you'll be disappointed. So probably not. So just think about whether you really want this or not. But it's worth it for the cover and lots of other things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris?
Yeah, the same. Yeah, look, the story's not great, but again, the acting is great. Multi-doctor story, if you're a sucker for that, get it. I like. Can you get a better combination than the Second Doctor and Jamie as well? I think they're pretty iconic. I think they're right. I think Jamie's the best male companion we've ever had, to be honest. I don't think they've ever had one better. But Operation Werewolf, I'd say is better.
Yeah, very good. All right, that's our chat on the 2 lost stories that are most recently released from Big Finish, Operation Werewolf and Deathworld. That only leaves us to talk about a couple of other things that we may have been listening to. And my list here, Chris, I wonder if... No, my list actually says it's your turn, Philip. You've got to go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to recommend a musical called Operation Mincemeat. So it's topical.
Haven't you done that already?
Have I done Operation Mincemeat? Have I?
I think you have, but do it again anyway. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, maybe I have. I can't remember what it is. I'll do it. It's appropriate this time. Having done Operation Werewolf, which is World War II activity. Operation Mincemeat is also set during World War II, also set during D-Day. It is a musical based on a true story, unlike Operation Werewolf, in which the Allies wanted to move the Germans away from one coastline into Sardinia. And so they set up Ian Fleming and others who belonged to the spy organizations set about how could they convince the Germans that they were going to land somewhere they were going to land. And so Operation Mincemeat is a musical all about the true story of creating a body, giving this body a history, being a pilot, being engaged, putting on them secret plans about a secret invasion, and then dispersing this body so that it would be found by Germans. It's very funny. It's very cleverly done. And it's all set in the same period as Operation Werewolf. And so you can go from one to the other and be in exactly the same land. And if I've recommended it before, sorry, listen again. It's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't take your advice last time, so maybe I will this time. All right. Chris, is there anything else that you've been listening to that you'd like to share?
Oh, what have I just finished? Finished The Well-Mannered War, which I actually thought was quite funny. Quite a few moments in there where I burst out laughing. I'm watching the watching the collection. So at the moment, what am I up to? The Time Warrior, the Time Monster at the moment. But if you haven't got the collection, it's well worth the money. There's lots of extras on there. The quality is fantastic. Just so much backstage knowledge you can get from it. It's just really great. I just love them. Behind the Sofa is really great to watch as well. So yeah, if you haven't got them, go get them.
I've been trying to convince Philip into getting these for years. And what tipped you over the edge, Philip? I don't know what it was. It wasn't me.
I didn't have a Blu-ray player. I didn't want to buy a Blu-ray player. It all seemed stupid. And then Amazon Prime had a sale on for Amazon Prime Day, and they had most of the collection on sale for $30 each. And so I, out of the however many have been released so far, I got all bar 3 of them for $30 or $40. And so that was just too good to pass up on. And then I managed to get a Blu-ray player on through the same sales for $40. And so, and since then I've bought the last three, which I managed to get for all under $100. And so I now have the entire collection. They are mismatched, Chris. You wouldn't be happy. I think only six of the collection are the proper English collections. But to be perfectly honest, I'm just going to watch them and put them away. So I am going through at the moment box set season 14. So I'm doing it really thoroughly. So with Mask and Dracula, I watched the whole 4 episodes. I watched all the special features. I watched again with the commentary and with the subtitles on. I've got my Doctor Who the collection book out. I read through all the details in that as well. So I've done that so far with Mask and Dracula and The Hand of Fear, and I'm about to go on to Deadly Assassin. So I'm just doing a really thorough walkthrough of season 14, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do next after that. I haven't decided because I do have 15 next.
Look what I'm on.
Yeah, well, actually,
I'm working through the Invasion of Time disc at the moment, so I've done the rest of the set. Very good stuff.
Before you do your recommendation, Dwayne,
I was going to bring this up. Yeah.
Oh, do you do your recommendation first? Then bring it up, or no? So
no, bring it up now.
Bring up now. We're talking about the collection. You may have seen that the fact that Blake 7 is now doing the release of season 1 as the collections. It's the same people who do Doctor Who with all that love, and so they've now restored the first 13 episodes, HD quality, brand new special effects are all there, all done with models. It's not CGI. They've actually refilmed all the special effects with new models. They look spectacular. And the really exciting thing is Dwayne and I are going to have a credit on that new box set because we contributed material. So there's a special tribute to Stephen Greif on the box set. And because we did that last final interview, and his family says the most thorough interview they've ever heard from him, they've actually used that material and put that material together into a documentary. And so, we've known it was coming for a long time, been very excited, waiting for it to be released. And we've watched with that documentary. It's just so well done, and it's very exciting to be part of one of those collection box sets. So I'm tickled pink, Dwayne. You probably are too, aren't you?
I am. I really would love a credit on a Doctor Who set somewhere, but Blake 7's close enough. That's good.
Just to be I'm happy to be on any set, to be perfectly honest, to start off with. But what was our oyster, Dwayne?
When's the release date?
Very good. I think it's November.
November, okay.
So it's open for pre-order now. So I mean, I would have had to have got an HD player because we're getting a complimentary set for our contributions as well. So that's nice as well.
It's very nice. One of
awesome.
The perks.
Congratulations.
Very excited. Dwayne, what are you going to share? What have you been listening to?
I'm going to recommendation for once an audio drama that I've been listening to.
That's a surprise.
I have been listening to. I've started my re-listen of the Big Finish version of The Prisoner, and I've finished box set 1 or volume 1 in the last day or so. Got 2 more to go. Because very shortly, Philip, we're going to be doing a feature on the Prisoner box set. So I've got to brush up on those and remember them. And brushing up on some of these things makes you remember how good they are. And, this is a Nick Briggs project, and he's so faithful to the original series, but putting his own new spins on it at the same time. Mark Elstob as number 6 is sensational. He does lots and lots of stuff for Big Finish, but his number 6 in particular is one of the best things I've ever heard. And have you started listening to? You probably haven't started listening yet, Philip, to The Prisoner.
I haven't. It's downloaded, ready to go, and it's slightly fear because there's been a whole heap of stuff released from Big Finish as well this week because the slight issues they've had with their website. There's been a whole bunch of stuff released in the last week, and there's so much stuff. There's the new River song, and there's so much stuff I want to listen to. But I know I've got to put The Prisoner into priority, so I'll be starting that tomorrow, no doubt.
Yeah, because it's getting on in years now. It's 8 years old since Volume 1 came out. They're four episodes per box set, so not like to these days where they cut it down to 3. There's actually 4, so you got 5 hours per box set if you include the extras on the end. That's what we've been listening to, and well, it's been great to have the company of you both. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for being with us.
Come again. I'm glad we didn't scare you off the first time. Please come back.
Not at all. Yeah, I will do.
In case there are people who haven't watched or listened to the commentary we did for the Autumn story, which I would say Autumn Invasion, but that's the name of the book.
Spearhead from Space.
Spearhead from Space, which was the first time Chris joined us, and also with Stephen Noonan. Have a watch of that. Actually, it's worth going to the video and watching that. I think you'll enjoy the presentation. And it was lots of fun. And we are thinking, aren't we, about maybe doing some more commentaries. In fact, part of the reason we did this was we're hoping to do the 3 Doctors coming up very soon. So I don't
think it's a thought. I think we're definitely doing it. So I would suggest, boys, we're doing that very soon. Yeah. No, excellent. That was a lot of fun. So we'll definitely do that again. It's nice to be able to step away from audio just from time to time. That's good. Yeah. And particularly in that era that we love so much. All right. That'll do us today. Thank you, Philip. Wonderful being in your company once again. Be seen in person in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to seeing Chris in person as well. We'll all be together.
A couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Beers all round. It'd be good. 2 weeks to Sydney.
I don't drink beer, but I'll do something.
Well, wine for you.
The wine for me.
Are you coming up to Sydney, Chris?
No, not this time. No. I'll
coming to Brisbane.
Brizzy this time.
Brisbane.
Excellent. And Adelaide if it goes ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Excellent. Yeah. All right. So anyone from Adelaide, get your tickets because it's a closing down sale is happening right now. It is certainly an event that you will remember for a lifetime. We can assure you of that. That is our aim, and that's what people have told us, including our guests. So that's really good. All right. Until next time, that is the Sirens of Episode. The Sirens of Episode. I can't even speak. These are the Sirens of Audio for this time. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.
See you later.
This has been the Sirens of Audio and our review of the Big Finish Lost Stories, Operation Werewolf, and Deathworld with Chris Beer, Philip Edney, and Dwayne Bunny. Theme music by Joe Kramer. Check out our live event details and all other info on the podcast at sirensofaudio.com. Got some feedback? Send your email to sirensofaudio@gmail.com or DM us at any of our socials. The handle is @AudioSirens. Thanks for listening, audiophiles. We'll hear you next time.